Walmart, the giant of low prices and bulk buys, just shocked everyone. After years of promising to keep things cheap and simple, they've announced that prices are going up. That's right, the place where families go to stretch every dollar is now warning that your cart will cost more. And the reason? Walmart's own CEO says it's because of Trump's tariffs. Now, on the surface, it sounds like just another price hike. But dig deeper, and you'll see this is more than a business decision. It's a survival strategy. Behind the corporate press release is a much bigger story. One where America's largest retailer is being forced to break the promise it built its empire on, low prices for all. Think about it. Walmart has always been a lifeline for working-class families. Whether you're buying groceries, school supplies, or a cheap phone charger, Walmart's been the go-to. So when they start raising prices, it's not just inconvenient, it's personal. It's like your most trusted friend suddenly turning their back on you. And here's the twist. This isn't just about a few extra cents on a pack of socks. This is the beginning of a major shift in how Walmart operates, how it buys, sells, and survives in a changing global economy. And the people who will feel it first and worst are the ones who rely on Walmart the most. So, if you're angry, you're not alone. This feels like a betrayal of everything Walmart stood for. But it's not just their fault. The deeper you look, the more it leads back to Washington, and to policies that promised protection but are now backfiring hard. Back in office, Donald Trump promised to protect American jobs with tough tariffs. His plan sounded simple: slap a tax on foreign-made goods, make them more expensive, and push companies to bring their factories back to the U.S. It was sold as a patriotic move. But the reality, it's blowing up in ways most people never saw coming. Here's what actually happened. Trump's new tariffs hit almost everything, starting with a 10% blanket tax on all imports. Then, it got worse. Products from China and Vietnam were slammed with tariffs as high as 30%. Think about that. A product that used to cost $100 to import now costs $130. And guess who's paying that extra $30? You. Let's break it down with real stuff from Walmart. Electronics, up 25%. Power tools, same story. Even groceries with imported ingredients are affected. From LED light bulbs to kitchen blenders, these tariffs are quietly making everyday items more expensive. Now imagine being Walmart. Their business model depends on cheap global imports. They can't just absorb these costs forever. Eventually, they pass them on to you, the shopper. So what was supposed to punish China is now punishing American families at the checkout counter. And it gets worse. These tariffs are also strangling Walmart's global supply chain. Routes that used to run like clockwork are now tangled in red tape and rising costs. What was meant to build America up is, ironically, making it harder for Walmart to keep its shelves stocked and its prices low. This isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about families already stretched thin who now have to pay more for the same basics. And the kicker? Most of them have no idea it's all because of tariffs dressed up as America First. While shoppers were busy noticing higher prices, something far more serious was happening behind closed doors at Walmart. In early 2025, top executives gathered in what some insiders now call the War Room. Their mission? Figure out how to keep the company alive as Trump's tariffs crushed their supply chain. And what they decided might surprise or even shock you. Walmart quietly began rerouting major parts of its supply chain away from the U.S. products that used to be processed, packaged, or shipped through places like Arkansas or North Carolina, were suddenly being redirected. Now, those same orders are headed to Mexico, Vietnam, and other countries across Southeast Asia. No announcement, no press conference, no social media updates, just cold strategic moves happening behind the scenes. Why? Because they knew if they didn't act fast, Walmart could start losing billions. This wasn't a political statement, it was survival. To make this shift, Walmart pulled out the big guns, logistics teams, global suppliers, legal departments, all working overtime. Internal memos showed that entire shipping contracts were rewritten in days. Distribution centers were reprogrammed. Trucks that once moved goods from U.S. ports were reassigned to haul products across borders instead. Here's the thing. For decades, Walmart was proud of its American roots. You'd see Buy American banners in stores, hear patriotic music in their ads. But now, the same company is quietly choosing to send jobs and orders abroad, all because Washington made staying home too expensive. So while customers think this is just about a few extra cents on toilet paper, the reality is far deeper. Walmart is changing its DNA. And the decision wasn't made in public, it was made in a quiet boardroom, under pressure, and in total secrecy. When former President Trump caught wind of Walmart's supply chain shift, he didn't take it well. According to multiple insiders, he erupted in a furious closed-door meeting at Mar-a-Lago. His words, betrayal. He had seen Walmart as a symbol of American strength, proof that Made in the USA could work with the right policies. But now, the largest retailer in the country was rerouting business out of the U.S. And for Trump, it felt personal. He reportedly threatened to revoke Walmart's federal contracts, which are worth hundreds of millions. Then came something even more extreme. Trump allegedly floated the idea of launching a formal investigation into Walmart for what he called corporate disloyalty. Yes, he wanted to treat them like enemies for reacting to the very policies he put in place. The irony? It was Trump's own tariffs that triggered this entire chain of events. He built a trap, and Walmart simply chose to escape rather than bleed out. What else were they supposed to do? Trump's public message still pushes patriotism and American jobs. But behind the curtain, he's now lashing out at companies that are trying to survive his economic rules. His anger, though dramatic, reveals the deeper issue. His plan backfired. And now, one of the most American companies of all time is pulling out of America. This clash between policy and reality is more than just drama. It's a warning. If even Walmart can't make America first work, then who can? Walmart likes to tell a feel-good story about its future. They've been promoting their Grow With Us plan, full of bright colors, smiling employees, and promises of opportunity. But behind the marketing, something very different is happening, and it's terrifying for millions of American workers. Here's the truth. Walmart's so-called growth plan means cutting U.S. jobs, not just a few, thousands, maybe more. As production shifts overseas and costs rise, Walmart is doing two things at once, offshoring and automating. That means fewer suppliers in America and fewer workers in stores. The human cashier you used to chat with, gone, replaced by a row of self-checkout machines. The stockers who fill the shelves overnight, replaced by smart robots and AI inventory systems. In just the past year, Walmart has closed dozens of training centers, slashed full-time roles, and sped up its rollout of automation technology across hundreds of stores. One internal estimate says Walmart could eliminate up to 20% of frontline jobs in the next 18 months. And this isn't just a business trend, it's a policy fallout. Trump's tariffs were meant to protect American workers, but instead, they've made it more expensive to hire in America while cheaper to build and ship abroad. Walmart is responding like any giant corporation would, cutting costs to survive. So the very people those tariffs were supposed to help, working-class Americans, especially in small towns and rural areas, are now the ones losing paychecks. It's not just a policy failure, it's a betrayal. What's happening at Walmart isn't staying at Walmart. In fact, it's kicking off a chain reaction across the entire American economy. Over the past 60 days alone, more than 100 U.S. manufacturers have announced moves to Mexico, Vietnam, and other low-cost countries. These aren't just small side businesses. We're talking major suppliers in furniture, auto parts, electronics, industries that form the backbone of local economies across the U.S. Once Walmart starts sourcing parts from Vietnam instead of Indiana, the message is loud and clear. The old model is broken, and companies are listening. Just look at the ripple effect. Small towns that depended on one plant, one contract with a big retailer like Walmart, are suddenly cut out of the loop. These are the same communities Trump promised to protect, places where factory jobs were already disappearing, now watching their last chances vanish. It's not a one-off, it's a trend. Remember Harley-Davidson? Back in Trump's first term, they moved some production overseas to avoid tariffs. General Motors did the same with certain models. At the time, people were outraged, but now it's becoming normal. Walmart's shift is just the latest, biggest domino, and as it falls, it's taking entire supply chains with it. Hundreds of smaller businesses, local vendors, truckers, warehouse operators, are now scrambling to stay afloat. Trump's trade war wasn't just a policy misfire. It set off a systemic unraveling that's now racing through American industry, and it's only picking up speed. You don't need to watch the stock market or read corporate memos to see what's happening. Just walk into your local Walmart. Customers across the country are already feeling it. Higher price tags, thinner shelves, and temporary shortages that seem to be happening a lot more often. TVs that were $299 last year are now over $400. Basic tools, cleaning supplies, even toothpaste, prices up. Selection down. A shopper in Ohio said it felt like every aisle had holes in it. In Texas, a store associate told local media they were told to brace for changes. A quiet warning to expect more disruptions in stock and staffing. What's causing this? It's not random. It's the ripple effect from the tariffs and the supply chain scramble. Goods that used to come in smoothly from China or Vietnam are now slapped with extra import taxes. Shipping routes are being rerouted. New factories in other countries aren't producing at full speed yet. All of that creates delays, bottlenecks, and higher costs. And Walmart, long seen as the master of supply chain efficiency, is suddenly struggling to keep shelves full while keeping prices low. That's a huge red flag. Walmart was built on the promise of everyday low prices, a core value that made it the go-to place for working families. But now, that promise is breaking down. The store that once symbolized affordability is becoming just another overpriced box store. And that's not just frustrating, it's heartbreaking. For many people, Walmart isn't just a store, it's where you buy groceries when your paycheck's tight. It's where your mom gets medicine. It's where your kid gets their school supplies. And now it's where everything costs more and delivers less. The era of reliable, cheap goods, it's fading and fast. Now here's the twist that really stings. When Walmart announced it would be shifting production overseas and warning about price increases, its stock dropped, but only for a moment. Then something strange happened. It bounced back, fast. Why? Because investors realized something the public hadn't fully caught on to yet. Offshoring could make Walmart even more profitable. Wall Street wasn't worried about American jobs or rising prices. It was thrilled that Walmart was quietly cutting costs, closing U.S. factories, and finding cheaper labor abroad. For shareholders, it meant higher margins. For everyday Americans, it meant higher prices and fewer jobs. According to financial analysts, the shift could save Walmart billions in the long run, even with the tariffs, because manufacturing in Vietnam or Mexico is still far cheaper than in the U.S. One analyst even said, Walmart's global pivot is smart business, no matter what Washington thinks. Think about that for a second. While workers in Arkansas and Ohio worry about layoffs, investors in New York are celebrating. The market is betting against American workers, and betting that companies like Walmart will survive and thrive by leaving them behind. Trump's tariffs, meant to punish foreign countries, ended up incentivizing American corporations to abandon the United States altogether. And now Wall Street is cheering it on. That's not just a policy failure, that's a betrayal. You'd think after watching this mess unfold, Trump would hit the brakes. But insiders say he's considering doing the exact opposite. His team is reportedly drafting a new retaliatory tariff plan. This time, not just targeting foreign imports, but punishing American companies that move production overseas. That includes big names like Walmart. One proposal on the table? A tax on goods re-imported into the United States from any company that moved its supply chain abroad after 2023. Basically, if you relocate to Mexico and ship the product back to sell at Walmart, you'd get hit with a hefty fee. To Trump, this is about loyalty. He sees Walmart's move as betrayal, and this plan, it's meant to send a message. Play by America First rules or pay the price. But economists are sounding the alarm. Loudly. One trade expert warned, this would trigger a price shock far worse than what we've seen. You'd see inflation spike overnight. Another said it could lead to lawsuits, World Trade Organization disputes, and a fresh wave of job cuts as companies scramble to adapt. In short, it's not a fix, it's a doomsday machine. If Trump goes through with it, the result could be even higher prices, more store closures, and a second wave of economic pain. Not just for Walmart, but for millions of families and workers already stretched thin. And remember, this all started with tariffs that were supposed to protect American jobs. Now, they might destroy even more. Now imagine this. Your small town has one major employer, Walmart. It's where most people shop, work, and even socialize. But over the next few months, the store cuts hours, then staff, then it shuts down altogether. No warning, no replacement, just locked doors and empty parking lots. That's not a dystopian story. It's a real possibility, and it's already happening in pockets of America. Walmart is quietly shifting away from building new stores in rural towns. Instead, it's investing heavily in online infrastructure, automation, and foreign distribution centers. A leaked memo from early 2025 even mentioned slowing U.S. expansion to protect margins and streamline operations. Translation? Less physical presence in small-town America. And the ripple effect is brutal. Local vendors lose contracts. Truckers have fewer routes. Small businesses near Walmart, fast food joints, gas stations, local shops see customer traffic dry up. The economic heart of the community slows, then stops. We've seen it before. Remember Mid-Continent Nail in Missouri? One of the last U.S. nail manufacturers. After Trump's 2018 steel tariffs, their costs skyrocketed. Orders vanished. Hundreds of workers were laid off. Within months, the factory was nearly silent. That's what a trade war does when it turns inward. Now imagine that scenario multiplied by hundreds of Walmart locations. That's what experts fear if this trend continues unchecked. Washington is panicking, but they're late. The plan is already in motion, and small-town America, once promised a manufacturing comeback, is watching another economic pillar crumble. Trump promised something: big tariffs would bring jobs back, rebuild American manufacturing, and make Made in the USA great again. But here's the hard truth. That promise didn't hold. Instead of rebuilding, tariffs made Made in America a costly liability for companies like Walmart. Higher import taxes meant higher costs on raw materials and finished goods. That squeezed profit margins and forced companies to find cheaper options outside the United States. Walmart, the very symbol of heartland values, found itself trapped. Their famous America First ads now feel like a bitter joke when the reality is shipping out jobs and raising prices for working families. The truth? Global capitalism is more powerful than political slogans. Money moves where it's cheapest, where regulations are lighter, and where labor costs less. That's the invisible hand guiding Walmart's decisions, not loyalty or patriotism. This isn't just Walmart's story. It's the story of many big companies caught between political promises and harsh economic realities. So while politicians shout about economic nationalism, the market quietly pushes companies to go global. And the biggest loser? The American worker. So what can we do now? This story isn't just about Walmart or Trump's tariffs. It's about the future of American jobs, communities, and families. We have a choice. Let politicians double down on policies that hurt workers and raise prices, or demand change. If you're fed up with seeing corporations abandon America while prices rise at checkout, it's time to speak up. Hit like if you want to see leaders hold companies accountable, not just for profits, but for the people who make this country work. Subscribe for more honest, no-fluff stories that cut through the noise. And comment below, should companies stay loyal to America even if it means less profit? Or should they do whatever it takes to survive? Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about economics, it's about values. It's about who we want to be as a nation, and the time to decide is now.